everyone, and welcome back to Pop Off the Clock Book Club version. I'm Brenda.
Hey everyone, I'm Yoseline, and thank you for joining us. Another book on the list.
Yes, and I feel so much smarter than I've
feel
read
so accomplished,
much, right?
Like I have my stack of books I've been reading all year.
I know, it feels so good to see it grow more.
So when people go to my
more.
apartment, like, oh, I'm like, yes, those are the books I read this year. Don't mind me. Oh, and those books, those are just my in-between books I like finished.
I have so many books, but I haven't read a lot of them. But now I actually have books that I have read, so I feel better about myself.
I know.
It's like the one, I think, New Year's Eve goal that I've actually stuck to.
Same. This is holding us accountable, though, right?
Yeah, it
like
is.
Having to do it like each
this
month.
book, if I didn't have to be held accountable, it would have taken me a while to finish.
Yeah.
Because it just started off slowly, but I feel like it's important to push yourself, because if you finish the book, you understand more of whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Than those little stops where you feel like,
where's this going?
Yeah, but our book for July was The Maid by Nita Prose.
Mm-hmm.
Yoseline has the physical copy with her as
Finally.
well. Yay!
I always forget mine because I always end up finishing it the night before, and I'm just kind of like, okay, over it, and I like throw it and I forget to pick it up. But
Yos will be reading our synopsis.
Yes,
she has the book with us.
I actually finished it this morning, and it's so funny. I finished it this morning, and then what's it called in the back?
The prologue?
No, it's the epilogue.
Oh, the epilogue.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, I'll do that at work. So, the revelation at the epilogue, like, I didn't know about it. So when I told Brenda, I'm like, so whatever happened to this? She's like, did you not read? I'm like, no, I was actually about to read it, but I'm excited.
Kick off this synopsis or summary of the book.
In the back. Okay. So this is a little, preview if you haven't read it. A dead body is one mess she can't clean up on her own. Molly Gray is not like everyone else. She struggles with social skills and often misreads people's intentions. But no matter, she still throws herself with gusto into work as a hotel maid at the 5-star Regency Grand. Her obsessive love of cleaning and proper etiquette makes her an ideal fit for the job. She delights in the donning her crisp uniform each morning, stocking her cart with miniature soaps, and returning guests' rooms to a state of perfection. But Molly's orderly life is upended the day she enters the suite of the infamous and wealthy Charles Black, only to find Mr. Black dead, very dead in his bed. Perplexed by Molly's unusual behavior, the police immediately suspect her of murder. She's soon caught in a web of deception with no idea how to untangle herself. Fortunately for Molly, friends she never knew she had join her in a search for clues about what really happened to Mr. Black. But will they be able to find the real killer before it's too late?
Yes, and before we get into our questions, we're going to give our ratings.
You go first.
Oh,
you go first, please.
So for me, I'm going to give this a 4.5 because it did have a really slow start in the beginning, but I feel like the moment in time where you know who the killer is or you start suspecting, that for me is when it started to ramp up and I got more intrigued by it. And then after that point, I just literally finished it in one sitting. So a 4.5 because, the beginning was just like,
I would think like a 3.8.
Okay.
Yeah. And I only say that because I thought the best part of it was when they were, making the plan of how to trap Rodney into it. I think that a lot of the friend aspect and putting clues together could have been a bigger deal and more of the book. And then it wasn't really of a whodunit. Well, at the end, you kind of, I don't know. For me, it's not a whodunit. It's like how done it, like you kind of know who it is, and you're just kind of trying to figure out how everyone is linked to this theory. But then there's just or maybe I missed it, there's no clue during the whole book about who it truly is until you read
the ending. I was like, the ex-wife had to have some role in it because she was talked about a lot in the beginning, and then her narrative just kind of dropped off. So when they brought her for the is it epilogue? Mm-hmm. For the epilogue, I'm like, okay, I had been wondering what was going on with this lady, and it makes sense that she was, spoiler, she was the killer of Mr. Black. But there was this whole scheme going on in the hotel. And, you know, what's interesting about the book is because I feel like it's so confusing in the beginning as the reader, because the narrator is Molly, and Molly doesn't understand what is going on whatsoever.
So that's another thing that kind of like makes me question it. Like, oh, Molly is smart enough to understand, relate to this woman's struggle and be like, I got you covered, but she couldn't like pick up the cues for everyone else and their red flags. The moment in court when she's like, I saw the black shadow, I'm like, oh, it's Ronnie. She just never admitted to it because she had this like crush on him, and she you know, whatever, how he was portrayed, she was just trying to protect him. But then when it turned out to be the first Mrs. Black, and I'm like, what?
The way the ending was, it was kind of confusing, because she does have an interaction with Mrs. Black, but throughout the trial, she never, or in any point in the book, she never mentions like
some secret that she's keeping.
Yeah, like, oh, I had an interaction with somebody, I just don't remember. Like, it was just like, I saw the body, I called, nobody answered, I fainted, I called again, or something like that.
And it wasn't until the court where she's like, yeah, I did see a figure in the mirrors. But even at that was like, we went through that pretty fast. Like, we didn't, I would have loved to seen like your lawyer kind of been like, why didn't you ever say that? Like, what?
Like a sidebar with her later, like, oh, so who did you see in the mirror?
Or like, why hide it? Because if in my head, I made the conclusion, like, she hid it because she knew it was Rodney and she just was trying to protect him. And her past patterns of protecting like men, you know, and like people that are just using her, it would fit. It was just like, where did this come from? I also knew, I think the same feeling she had of protecting Giselle was the same feeling she had for Mrs. Black, the first one. And I think we could have dove in more in other aspects when that specific feeling is triggered, how she goes like this fury of protection, right? She's protecting Giselle. She protects Mrs. Black. It's like, okay, when I think it would have set off something, maybe if she would have described something in her childhood that also triggered that specific empathy with like with women being abused or used. I think I would have liked more of that, maybe if had some relation to her mother, like not being more, I don't know. I thought it was just like, okay, these women obviously triggered something in her that she wants to protect them, but it's like, what's her past pattern that would have made the connection?
Yeah, because she said that, oh, I don't like abuse. I don't like it when women are abused. But it's like never an explanation as to what
you experience,
why abuse is something that you don't like. I mean, not that anybody likes abuse, but you know, that's her like thing that kind of pulls her from.
Now that I look back, do you think I was just like, was she that naive? It makes me also question, were you that naive? Like, did he really not know that was cocaine? Like,
no, I really think that she's naive, because I think that she is somebody that obviously is on some sort of spectrum.
Yeah, no social cues.
She has no social cues. She just doesn't. I think it is naive because she wasn't exposed to a lot of things in her life.
So I thought at first, I'm like, is she so awkward because she was so sheltered? But then there was one specific example when Giselle was like, you stand really close to people, you need to pretend that there's like a distant and I was just I was just like, oh, this is not just a sheltered person, this is someone who can't pick up social cues.
And that's why I thought that she was such an interesting protagonist of the story, because this is such an easy, like for you and me, we could have figured this out in like 5 seconds because it's such an easy clue. The clues are everywhere. But for her, she doesn't pick up on anything. So it's like somebody that's basically blind trying to figure out this like murder mystery.
Yes, that was another layer of like, it was like an easy, not to solve, but like an easy red flags to spot. Any average person would have been like, you walked into a room of 4 men and they're all like
being shady,
and then there's white powder all over, and you think they spilled donuts and offer to clean after them.
Yeah, it's And they even see it.
Yeah.
And even the words they use to describe her, like, she's such a special person. She's so unique.
She's so helpful. Like, they were basically trying to tell, like, the bad guy was trying to tell the even badder guys, like, she's harmless. Like, she doesn't get what's going on
look,
here.
There's there's nothing going on.
So I think it was an interesting take. It was an easy read, I think.
It was an easy read.
I think we both finished it within, like
a day.
I think me for 2 days, but if you would have just like put all my hours together, it would have been a day. But yeah, it was, and it wasn't really too hard to read.
But I don't know. I think just the fact that the character, I think she had to be this way in order for the story to make sense.
Yes, I also think that the book itself is a great skeleton and outline for a movie.
Absolutely.
I think everything is there, and it will only be more intensified and better visually.
Absolutely.
Like the whole, like, getting the clue, setting up Rodney. I think it's going to be visually pleasing. Like, it's a very good book to turn into a movie or something,
a series, or
because
something like that.
It's, even though it's like very, not superficial, but it's very simple of how it happens. I think you could work with it.
And you can embellish,
Yes.
like you can embellish certain things.
Like, you could write in the grandma in her head throughout the whole book. You could, I guess, visually see more of.
My thing is, like, I feel like it's really obvious to everyone, who Molly is and, like, her strengths and her weaknesses, but no one ever translated that to authorities. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to, like, consider that this girl she's not all there. Like, you need to be mindful of that fact.
Yes.
Like, they just, like, thought it was her, and I'm like, she doesn't know anything. Like,
but it's like, I don't want to call her weird and creepy. Like, I don't want to, like, because she is just socially awkward.
Yeah.
But I do know people translate it into that, like, no, he's like, you're like, oh, she's a freak, he's a freak.
Yeah.
And then, like, the fact that the police is like, people said that you would, like, they'd believe if you murdered someone. I'd be so offended.
I know. People like that Cheryl chick, man. No.
Okay, so let's get into the first question, just because we are talking about Molly. So what did you think of Molly as a character? What made her believable to you? What were your feelings about the revelations and the epilogue about Molly's involvement in the case, which we kind of already started talking about? It just kind of, like, the revelation at the end, I was just kind of like, then who is this Molly we all been following the whole book? Because she was smart and she got it. And I think it would have been, if there was going to be a twist at the end, like there was, I think I would have rather have it be the daughter of Mr. Black.
I would have rather it be Giselle, and she's covering for Giselle
Because of the, like,
because of how close she is.
I do, like, I appreciate the money, Giselle, though.
I really thought it was at one point going to be Giselle, because like, Molly's going to protect her with her life regardless of the situation. So I was like, I mean, Giselle might as well do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't really think that she was capable of doing it.
Yeah, I knew she was involved in it, like, immediately. Which is so, like, oh, the young hot wife that wants the money.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend. Like, that was just like, oh, okay,
it was
we
like
get
an
it.
obvious thing.
Yeah, it was just
But
more
to
of,
the
like,
character, it's like completely.
it was an obvious thing, but it's kind of like, but how are they framing her? Like, how are they all intertwined? How is the men in the room and the drugs?
I thought
and
for a
the
second
thing?
Giselle was framing Molly too, and I'm like, Giselle, how dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
But, I mean,
I think Molly was the perfect. What is that word that people use?
Target?
Vestige, or that perfect
vessel
for this story, because, like I said, like it.
No, I thought you meant for the crime. Like, if I was a criminal and I saw someone like Molly, I would be like,
let's pick her.
She's
An easy target.
She has nothing to lose. Like, she has no family to, like, fight for her. She probably can't articulate any kind of, like...
And she would have probably gone to jail over it if it wasn't for Mr. Preston and Juan Manuel.
Yeah. freaking.
You just need even 2 friends and they can get you far.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So at least have one friend. So the next question. Gran has a number of iconic sayings that Molly relies on to get her through both very happy and very difficult situations. What were some of your favorites? You know, I really did notice that, and it reminded me again of her state of mind, where very kiddish, very juvenile, where you're trying to like teach a kid like, you don't do that because this and this.
Like these typical sayings that you
like
hear.
These typical sayings of like, it's like you're teaching someone life lessons through these sayings. Some of my favorite ones, I don't even know.
I don't even think I liked any of them because it just reminds me of like being a kid and being told like green is whatever, or like I'm gonna just even skim through here and see if anything pops up. It was like whenever she was like talking to herself.
It was moments that she was able to connect. Like that's when you knew it's like, oh, she connected something together. Because like Gran always said,
okay, you can do it if you put your mind to it. Like something like that. Like it's like
and something about friends and like. Wait, about the revelation though, I don't know if it's a question or not. Okay, well, I'll get to it then if it's not. But yeah, it just reminded me a lot of like, well, Gran was very using these sayings because she knew like Molly needed those to understand.
They're like, yeah, it's like her rule book for life, basically.
And it's like she goes by it. Like she doesn't have the capacity to be like, well, the exception is this, or like, you know, whatever.
She's very black and white, and I liked how at the end she's like, I need to start looking in color, like seeing the world in color.
So Gran and Molly believe in the 3 E's: etiquette, is it elocution, and erudition? I don't know. If there's a moment in the novel where Molly's application of these 3 values stood out to you, if you would pick just one of these, which one would you say is the most important? Well, I'll tell you, I don't know what these words mean.
Me either. I just know etiquette.
Oh, yeah, and I don't think
she
that
has like
the elbow thing always stood out to me. How that was something that like drove her crazy.
So that's like a thing they teach you in etiquette class because.
Elocution, like eloquently. Okay. So it's from skill of clear speech. Okay, and then the other one is erudition, having and showing great knowledge or learning.
Oh, I would say more elocution. Right?
I think elocution, because just being someone who speaks eloquently, you could kind of talk yourself out of anything.
And everyone even was like, you talk so uniquely.
Yeah, even the text.
She's like a robot. I love that whole Roomba thing. Like I felt so bad for her.
She's like dancing, like, aw. So Molly says she is blessed with this ability to clean my mind as I would a room. I picture offensive people or recall uncomfortable moments, and I wipe them away. What did you make of some of the moments when Molly's memories came creeping back in? Did some of her darker memories, when she finally revealed them, surprise you? Did you understand why she wanted to wipe them away? So the grandma dying.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes. I like reread it.
Okay. I completely forgot about that. But like how her grandma died. And you remember when she's talking to the attorney, like the daughter, and she's like, oh yeah, my grandma died, but I didn't have any part in it. I thought that was kind of an interesting like addition. I'm like, huh? Like, why would you even say that?
And I thought it was weird, but I'm like, oh, it's because she disagreed that she didn't like want to take the medicine. Like, you know how the grandma didn't want treatment and stuff?
But she did kill her, basically.
That is
with
like,
her permission, obviously, but like, you did kill your grandma.
That was, and then the whole thing was like, Molly would never kill
her
anyone.
To fly, yeah.
But she technically did, because that was crazy. I reread that. I'm like, I read that wrong. Like,
when with the pillow too, because remember when Giselle picks up the pillow and she like reacts like, whoa, what is she doing?
And you know that would have been funny if Giselle was the killer, and that would have been like a little Easter egg that the person holding the pillow is the killer.
Yeah,
but it didn't happen.
But yeah, that was
intense,
crazy.
I don't know if I could do that though. Oh, even though I know it's not like, oh, she killed her grandma. Her grandma said, when you need to like suffocate me because I just want to die from the pain.
I cried, honestly. I did. Felt very sad for her because it's like, this is the one person throughout your life that's been consistent. They are your teacher and they are your
caregiver, really.
Yeah,
if you think about
because
it,
she needs somebody that's like watching out for her. I mean, obviously, she almost went to jail without any supervision. Like, this girl needs some help. But yeah, I was really surprised by that revelation about her grandma.
That one was the revelation also about Mr. Preston being engaged to the grandma.
Oh yeah, I had a feeling that there was something between them.
Yeah.
And I just felt really bad for her about that guy that, like, he was basically living with them, right? And then he just took their money.
He came along. Yeah, he came along for like dinners.
Yeah.
That was so ugly because it's like, and I'm glad she never told the grandma, because how can the grandma die now?
Yeah.
Like, yes, at least the grandma died in peace, thinking that she left her in a comfortable position. But
and also, like, when they start asking her questions about, like, oh, why didn't, like, what happened to all your money, your grandma's money? Like, she never even brought up the
She's like, it's all gone.
Yeah, it's just gone. The Fabergé.
Molly is aware that others tend to make assumptions about her based on her demeanor and her position as a maid. This is a fact that she uses to her advantage during interrogation by saying, "I'm a hotel maid. Who would ever want to talk to me?" When asked about her friendship with Giselle, the detective easily accepts this answer and lets Molly go free, which feels like a bittersweet victory. What did you think of this exchange? What does it suggest about power of dynamics and about the assumptions of people tend to make about others who are different from themselves? You know, it's interesting because, yeah, she did that, but she also used that to her advantage at the end when she was kind of like, she looked at Ronnie, like when she was on the stand. I don't know what she said, something about like, you never noticed me, but I was like connecting the dots the whole time. Like, I don't know, I don't really recall what she said, but she was able to look at Ronnie in the face and be like, you just like dismissed me, but I was paying attention, which I think it's always like, whatever place in life you are, I think you could use it for your advantage or your disadvantage, just like that. You could be like, well, I'm just a maid, I don't talk to anyone, like no one talks to me. Or you could be like, I'm a maid, no one pays attention to me, but that means I'm like, I see everything, I hear everything. Yeah. So it was I think like, it was.
Honestly, depending on who Molly, like, the maid totally could have been the one.
Yeah. Especially because
another, like, in any kind of circumstance,
they could have paid her money. They could have offered her, you know, things. Especially since Giselle went to her apartment, and like, people don't know what the transaction was there.
Just the fact that she was a part of a cartel, money laundering.
She was a mule.
When I read that she's a mule, I was like, oh, what the hell? This is crazy. She's a mule without even knowing she's a mule. Like,
I did pick up something with Juan Manuel was going to be involved the moment she pointed out his burns, and he's like, oh, the dishwasher. She's like, you need to, like, I don't know what.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm like,
I thought it was shady about the rooms. I mean, I guess, like, I understand. So that was what was interesting about from the beginning to where you. So in the beginning, obviously, it's more into Molly's mind. Like, she has a crush on Rodney. Like, the interactions between them. Like, you don't really pick up anything more until, like, you just hear the reactions coming to her, and they're like, wow, this person isn't really who they seem to be.
When she described their dates, she's like, we're going on a second date. Yeah. It's been a year since the first one. I'm like, girl. That's girly pop. And then when she was just like, he said, let's go to Olive Garden, I knew that was a sign. I'm like, I go to Olive Garden all the time. Like, it was just like little things where I'm like, you're kidding, right? Like, donut powder, like.
Yeah, no, that was like the big wide open thing. But no, yeah, those are my thoughts.
So next question. Molly has a very distinct sense of what is right and wrong, but sometimes this takes the form of her grand Robin Hood morality, in which her sense of fairness and justice can override what others may traditionally consider right or wrong. Do you think this willingness to help others is brave or naive, and would you do the situation? And I just like, everything just clicked in my head right now. I think that's what the Giselle and the Mrs. Black triggered for her, the right or wrong. And you sometimes have to do one bad thing to do a good thing.
That's what she kept saying always towards the end, like, you have to do something wrong.
And another thing that her grandma taught her, like, they're like, yeah, he's a bad egg, because her grandma taught her, like, or maybe gave her the example of like, oh, they're like people, they're like good eggs and bad eggs, and there could be good people that are in bad baskets. And it's like she used that comparison the whole time, because it's like that's the kind of level
that's
of
her,
like
her rule book of like Okay, let me open it. Social skill 101. I'm going to have an interaction with Yoseline. Let's see.
Oh, people say she's bad. She's a bad egg. You think she's a bad egg? Like that.
Yeah.
And then even Mr. Preston's like, yes, Molly, he's a bad egg. Like, and I'll be like, ooh, okay.
I was like, listen to Mr. Preston. I got really scared when she was being interrogated at the police station. They're like, you can make a phone call. I was like, you better not, for the love of God, call Rodney. I'm going to lose my shit. And she called, thankfully, Mr. Preston. I'm like, okay, we're on the right track now.
Like, this is it. This is it.
Yeah, this is the moment.
And then she had only have like 7 contacts in her phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so did you agree on that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think the willingness to help others is brave or naive? I think it could be both. I think that it's you stepping up and like helping other people could be brave, but it's also in situations where, like Molly, she would help Rodney. That was naive because she didn't see the red flags all around him. Brave how she like eventually like stood up and helped Giselle or like helped Mrs. Black, but
it cracked me up when she told him, like, you know, you're like Robin Hood because you're helping. And he's just like, oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks for the
he gives
compliment.
me the creeps. Okay, next question. Well, everything ends up okay. Each one of Molly's allies risks something to help her. What do you think influenced each of their decisions? Well, I think it just...
I think it's just their relationship
Yeah,
with
like
her.
Mr. Preston had a good relationship with the grandma. And he's like, I'll take care of her. The attorney, what was her name?
The daughter.
Charlotte, trusted her dad. And Juan Manuel, it was his
that
way
was the only genuine relationship she had because they became friends because of that situation of Rodney being like, oh, you helped my friend Juan Manuel.
Like Juan Manuel was the only one that directly was like, I'm helping her because she was good to me.
Yeah.
Mr. Preston helped her because like her grandmother was good to me, so this is how I'm repaying her. Charlotte's like, well, my dad is giving his word for her, so I'm gonna help. And I think that's the only one who helped.
So that's why I appreciate that she ended up with Juan Manuel in the end.
Yeah, it's cute.
It just made me happy for her.
Because he's like a good kid.
Yeah.
And like that's what she needs because...
She needs a good egg.
She needs a good egg. What were some of your takeaways from the book? What message do you think the author was trying to convey? I have no idea. Well, I thought it was just a murder mystery. No.
I feel like it's like the most unsuspecting people can be the hero.
But I think so. But I also, it's like the good all story of like people that are maids and all that stuff. Like you have to treat them with respect and like they're equal to you because at the end of the day, they do know everything that's going around you. And Giselle being nice to Molly paid off at the end.
Yeah. It helped her case more than anything else.
Don't be Rodney's in the life. Like, don't be mean to people.
Don't.
And don't, like, start a cartel ring in a hotel.
In a hotel, yeah. That twist was, like, what kind of was interesting to me was just the whole drug ring going on at the hotel. I was like, you're just going to throw in a whole drug ring into this whole story.
A little more violence would have been nice to make it really scary. But just our last question, who would you want to play the people?
Okay, so obviously when we spoke about this book previously, I mentioned that Florence Pugh is attached to this, I guess, film or whatever adaptation is going to be so she'll obviously be playing Molly. So that's who I had in my mind.
And I could see her play her very well.
Right. I see that too. And for Giselle, automatically Camilla Morone from Daisy Jones and the Six. She was just the first person I thought of as as Giselle. Somebody that's obviously younger, that seems very whimsical. I don't know, brunette, a Hispanic woman I kind of envision. And for Rodney, I kind of see like a young Chad Michael Murray type thing with the buzz cut, that era of Chad Michael Murray.
Yeah.
And the only other person I can actually like put an actress for is the character of Charlotte, and it's the person I told you, Jernee Smollett. She's come down a lot of stuff like Lovecraft Country.
Jussie Smollett's
Jussie Smollett's sister.
I think she would be perfect.
She would be a perfect
because she's
Charlotte.
still like, because herself like, I think a lot of the lessons learned was when Charlotte would go do the court stuff for her, they would get in the car and she's like, well, this and this happened. And her dad's like, how do you know this information before? She's like, the clerks, the things.
Yeah.
She's like, you
make friends with everybody.
You make friends with everyone. You raised me not to never look down on people's positions. So in return, they things do like pay off at the end. Like that. Like the lawyer was very aware of what was happening and what was saying surrounding the case, because everyone would tell her, like, they were good sources to her because she was like kind. And I think that's another example of like maybe the message that the author wanted to do, where it's just like, you just never know when
on all ends.
You just never know when someone can help you out, so why not be respectful and kind too?
And in return, I mean, like, the reason why Molly got out of this because of her kindness to people, even her family's kindness to people, granted her the right connections to where she was able to get out of it.
Yeah. What was it recently that I saw that someone was able to do something? Oh, what are their names? Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. When we find out that Tyler Perry helped them out because of how much Princess Diana's impact had to Tyler Perry's mom, because she was like, oh, she was the only princess who did something specifically, like visited some, like, I don't know if it was just like a low income
I know that she would go to New York a lot.
Yeah,
and
so she was just so. Tyler Perry's mother was so fond of Princess Diana's kindness that she like loved her, so she taught her son to like love Princess Diana. And then fast forward decades, Tyler Perry's like, I'm gonna help Princess Diana's son. So I think it's like the same example where her grandmother was such a great person that her kindness was able to affect the generations.
Is that humility? Is that the right word?
I guess like humility.
I just kind of say words sometimes and hope it's the correct one.
It is like you I guess you have to be like humility, like you have to have it.
Yeah, like
nice.
You have to be humble, like in who you are, to the fact that just because I hold a certain position, I'm at a certain status, doesn't mean that I'm above other people. Everyone's equal.
So I think it did, and going back to the thing, like I think that was like the perfect message. I agree with Florence. I think she'd be perfect for this role because Florence is gorgeous, but she's also like she could
play a challenging role. Like this.
She could strip down.
Also for Giselle, I see a mix of Camille Morone and Gal Gadot, something along those lines.
Yes, like your typical stereotypical like
dark-haired beauty.
I don't know who would be like the Mr. Black. I mean, he's not really in it for
like a young, older person. Like somebody that looks attractive that's older.
I said Dennis Quaid.
Why not?
For the Rodney guy, I'm trying to see like
that one was hard for me to pick.
I know when I'm not really into like who's like the it boy or something right now that's like in a sitcom that's just like, oh, TV heartthrob. I feel like it was,
I don't know.
It's someone, not Chris Evans, because he wouldn't do like a, but like that vibe of like All-American, because you find out later Rodney comes from a rich family. But
an All-American kind of bad boy. That's why I feel like buzz cut.
Yeah.
Tattoos, not a whole lot. Brunette? Blonde?
Like a dirty blonde.
Yeah. That's why I feel like young Chad Michael Murray. Think
like
Cinderella's story, Chad Michael Murray.
Yeah, so that, and then I agree with Charlotte, and then Mr. Preston. I like keep thinking of someone, but I don't know if I'm making him up in my head or he's like, oh, you know who? I don't know his name, but he's the guy who played Kerry Washington's dad in Scandal.
Okay.
Like that's exactly who I see.
I see that.
Like a serious man, but yet like
has a soft spot, like sweet.
And then Juan Manuel,
it's funny because I was kind of thinking about the guy from The Summer I Turned Pretty, the guy that's the help that Belly dates for one in the first season. Like they go on a couple dates. He's the curly-haired guy.
Oh, but I don't think he's Hispanic, is he?
I don't know.
I would think I know who would be a good actor. He's like up and coming in America, but he's like has a good following in in Mexico. He is, what's his name? His name is Luis Gerardo Mendez.
Luis, let me see.
This guy. He's come out in little roles.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he would be great, I think, because he's like transitioning into like American stuff.
Is Juan Manuel an older guy or a younger guy?
I would think he's like Molly's age.
Mid-20s.
Yeah.
Maybe, mid-20s.
Yeah. I think so. Molly is probably like...
Yeah.
Mid-20s.
Probably like 23 or something. But yeah. I look forward to seeing what kind of adaptation it's going to be.
I'm excited to see. I think it's going to be even better on TV or the screen. Whatever it is, I think visually it'll be a better adaptation because there's parts where you could expand characters or narrow characters. Like, I think you could expand more of Juan Manuel's and Ronnie's relationship. Like, what do they do behind those closed doors or how they started that
I feel like if it's
thing.
a TV show, it'll probably dive into each character as it follows the story of it unraveling.
And, like, Giselle and the history. Like, we will probably get more of Mr. Black. Like, why was he such a horrible person? Where
the whole drug ring, how that started.
So I think there's things to expand, definitely. Yeah, but Brenda, you want to announce our next book?
Let me just shoot.
Well, we're excited about this book because the author is actually from Laredo.
Yes, she is.
So that's where we're shooting this
Ms.
from.
Katie Gutierrez. Her book is More Than You'll Ever Know. Let me look for the
it was
description.
More Than You'll Ever Know was also a selection for the Good Morning America book club, which this one was too. So I didn't know that, so I'm glad that it has some kind of stamp of approval. I know it was at a bestsellers list, so I'm excited.
And also,
to see.
It's just fun to have like a local author or somebody that's from here.
Yeah,
kind of make it big with their book. Gosh, this website is giving me a hard time on book deals. I don't know why. Sometimes my service for internet is kind of, believe it or not, in a TV station, the internet can kind of go sometimes for me. More Than You'll Ever Know. Where is it? Whoa, this is okay. In 1985, Lore Rivera marries Andres Russo in Mexico City, even though she is already married to Fabian Rivera in Laredo, Texas, and they share twin sons. Through her career and international banker, Lore splits her time between two countries and two families until the truth is revealed and one of her husbands is arrested for murdering the other. In 2017, while trawling the internet for the latest, most sensational news reports, struggling true crime writer Cassie Bowman encounters an article detailing that tragic final act. Cassie is immediately enticed by what is not explored. Why would a woman, a mother, risk everything for a secret double marriage? Cassie sees an opportunity. She'll track Lore down and capture the full picture, the choices, the deception that led to the disaster. But the more time she spends with Lore, the more Cassie questions the facts surrounding the murder itself. Soon, her determination to uncover the truth could threaten to derail Lore's quiet life and expose the many secrets both women are hiding.
What year is that set in?
It is so. Lore meets
Wait,
him
is it
in
about
the
that
80s?
case that really happened? Or I'm just kidding.
It's so Lore, when everything happens, it's in the 80s, and then it's in 2017 that she starts exploring the case.
Ooh, it sounds fun.
Yeah, it does. Okay. The fact that Laredo is mentioned, love to see it. Love to see it.
Yes, but if you want a little murder mystery, a whodunit, howdunit, this is your book. We recommend it.
And this is our 7th book of the year. We're already going to get into our 8th. Woohoo! We hope you all have been joining us along because it's been fun to be literate.
I'm just glad I have New Year resolution and I'm finishing up.
And hopefully you all are too. But we will not be having an actual pop episode this week. But hope you all hold over with the book club episode.
Yes. We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.